A pleasant good day to you and yours, and welcome to another presentation of Inside the News. Today we have the inimitable, the one and only Mr. Chesley Hamilton. He was due to be with us last Saturday, but due to the inclement weather was unable to be here, but he made a vow and has lived up to it as he is apt to do, and he is here today. So he is here with a guest. And without further ado, I'm going to let him introduce his guest to you. Good day, sir.
Good morning, Quinn. Good morning to listeners at home and abroad, and good morning to my esteemed guest in the studio, Mr. Victor A. Eddy. I think I'm going to speak something about cricket as we're in the CPL season, the Caribbean Premier League, and I'm going to speak with Victor not only about CPL and Premier League, but some things about him and his career and his knowledge and understanding of cricket in general and batsmanship. I am a fan of Victor, so you may hear that coming through from time to time. He would let you know that Victor is, for those who doesn't know, is a Kittian, born, I think, February 14, 1955. And I don't want to be disparaging, but a lot of people describe him as a park rat, meaning that he lived around the park and played a lot of his cricket in Warner Park. Predominantly for Renown, Victor? Predominantly for the Renown Cricket Club. And Victor is a first-class cricketer within the West Indies, played youth cricket for the West Indies. He toured England, and Victor played for the Combined Islands team, the successful Combined Islands team. He is embedded in the folklore of the Caribbean in the famous Tantimole at the Oval. He's mentioned in that by Paul King's Douglas, Tanti at the Oval, that famous first-class Shell Shield match between the Combined Islands and Trinidad and Tobago. Victor was a I could say he was a middle order batsman, but many people wouldn't know that Victor debuted for the Combined Islands as an opening batsman. And right here in Warner Park against Barbados, but later distinguished himself as a middle-order batsman and one of the premier batsmen of spin bowling throughout the region. Victor, good morning.
Good morning to you, Chesley Hamilton. Good morning to everyone, wherever you may be listening us here at winnfm in St. Kitts and in Bastille, the capital. Thank you for extending the hand of inclusion. Whenever I speak on cricket, should I make new friends or lose all, I will always enunciate my conscience as I best understand it. Just a quick profile, as Chesley did indicated to our listeners, as to my pros in cricket, mainly known for a batsman who opened the batsman at first of my inception in playing in the Renowned Cricket Club in St. Kitts in club cricket. And then when also representing the Leeward Islands in the year 1974, where I opened the innings with a Guy Yarwood of Antigua and Barbuda, and the opening bowlers for the MCC, as it is, Melbourne Cricket Club then, it was Bob Willis and Jeff Arnold who opened the bowling. And in the first innings, I scored 45, which 45 is just as good in terms of the opponents that were bowling, because both bowlers, Arnold and Willis, were opening bowlers for the English Test team in Test cricket. So some would say, even though it wasn't officially that I was slated and got a selection to play Test cricket, every time I always felt in going at the crease, and more so especially that early segment of my career, I was tested. So some will put it in the perspective that you were tested, so you played test cricket in that sense. But comprehensively, though, as Courtly outlined, and for those of you who might have heard, or even when you go to the internet, get the information now, but I ended up with an average over 30. I think it might have been somewhere as to 35 with 5 first-class hundreds, a 91 not out against India at Warner Park. That was in a territorial game representing the Leeward Islands, and I was the then captain of the Leeward Islands team. And it's amazingly to know that following me were 2 other cricketers from that 11 that went on to represent the West Indies senior team in Test cricket, which Test cricket is the examination and 2020 cricket is the exhibition. And the renowned Richie Richardson of Antigua and Barbuda, he was also in that 11 along with Eldine Baptiste from Antigua and Barbuda. So I'll pause here for now, and my well-rounded host, Chesley Hamilton, full of knowledge, understand probably even my career better than I do. So Chesley, it's a pleasure.
Yes, Victor, thanks for expounding and amplifying the introduction in the way that you did. Yes, you did average in the mid 30s as a batsman, but what it was interesting to me, Victor, is not just the average, because I know how you batted, and I know what your contribution. Many times you came to the crease during a crisis, and what was important is that you played some 59 first-class matches. Let's round that up to 60. But 5 centuries and 15 half centuries, that's 20 times you pass 50. Right? That is a third of your innings. Now add 12 not outs to that. that is half of the matches you played.
Yeah.
Half of the matches you played, you either passed 50 or came not out. I know that one of those time you passed 50 or passed you may have come not out. So somebody's going to say the analysis isn't perfect, but I will accept the error. But what I want to say is that you always put a price on your wicket. And therefore, I could speak importantly of the Combined Islands in Trinidad. And those days, we probably opened the batting with Sebastian and Camacho.
Michael Camacho, Antigua.
Yes, and Sebastian from the Windward Island,
Dominica.
Look, Sebastian was unfortunate as well not to have played Test cricket, but he was he's a man who started his first-class career probably around 16, and contributed significantly to the Windward Island and Combined Islands cricket. However, with those two, plus Jim Allen probably at number 3, Viv Richards at 4,
Irvin Shillingford
at 5, and you at 6.
Yeah.
We found ourselves somewhere like 11 for 3 or something like that.
Yeah, it was 11 for 3 when I joined Irvin Shillingford. And a recollection of thoughts is that when I was joining Irvin Shillingford, he met me halfway. He left the batting crease where he was, and then coming from the pavilion, we met halfway. And in conversation, I was greatly surprised. Before I faced a delivery, he said to me, Victor, I would prefer if you face most of deliveries from Inchanali, who was a left leg break and googly bowler. So I said to Irvin then, well, Irvin, you are a better batsman than I am. He said, it's not about that. It's about putting a partnership together. And I took that responsibility, and it paid off well. But apart from...
It paid off well.
Yeah,
Owen went on to make 100. You got 80 yards.
I got 82. and it actually was, for the 4th wicket, over 200 runs.
Yes.
So in the post-mortem, after dinner the evening, there was usually a consistent pattern of having a post-mortem in team meetings. And then Irvin brought up the point, the late Irvin Shillingford. he brought up the point where he said, well, Victor, you see what I mentioned to you, it was not about who was the better batsman. It was who was more competent or capable of assessing that bowler. So, I mean, in hearing that, and from there on, that also inspired me to have more confidence in myself playing against spin bowlers. But the amazing thing that many persons can find intriguing throughout this program, and especially that match in particular, if you know, and most likely most persons who would have bought a pack of crackers, biscuits, the oval pitch used to look like that. And then having a left arm leg break and googly bowler, a right arm leg break and googly bowler, a left arm spinner in Rafik Jimadeen, a right arm off spinner in Ranji Nanan. So then that thought of variety, and when I reflect on that innings, personally for me, I label that as the best innings I've played in any format of cricket.
Wonderful. And I think that to rate that as your best inning, knowing that you made 139 against a Jamaican attack with...
No, it was 139 in the trial match at Warner Park to select the Combined Islands against the Windward Islands, but 131 against Jamaica in Annisvale, St. Vincent.
Which included a Michael Holland.
Well, there you go. But some people, observers would say that I was not a competent player of playing fast bowling, but probably because I was so exceptional in playing spin bowling, they didn't recognize how competent I was in playing pace bowling, because Colin Croft played for Guyana. I scored 50-odd in Nevis against Guyana, Combined Islands versus Guyana. I struck Roger Harper for 3 sixes in 1 over. And when I came to his end where he were bowling from, he looked at me like he was so disappointed. So I said to him, well, I have El Comido Willett and Derek Parry on my team, and when we play Leeward Islands tournament, I do very well against them, and you are very ordinary in my capacity. So it wasn't really an insultive adjective. It was just a conscious thing that don't look so disappointed because where I came from. Because any batsman in the Leeward Islands, more so and I also scored a century against Nevis in Leeward Islands cricket tournament. Winston Wade Davis, the late Winston Wade Davis, he did so also too. And Leonard Logic Williams also. So it's only 3 batsmen from St. Kitts in Leeward Islands cricket tournaments scored centuries against Nevis. Even the late, great Leonard Mikes Harris, he never scored 100 against Nevis.
That's an interesting stat if it's hold up. I had no idea that has been so up to today. Knowing the likes of Parry and Willett and the others who tweaked the ball for Nevis, I just didn't know that was so. However, you spoke about Guyana. I remember an innings versus Guyana
at Albion in Guyana,
where
Ralston Otto got 100 and I got 100.
And I remember you just before lunch chipping to Clyde Butts and hitting me on the side screen. So you might remember Roger Harper. I remember you really just not respecting Clyde Butts.
You put it in that way. Well, the thing is always
because you normally close shop the over before lunch. You know?
But then they always say that even though it's coming to the interval, yes, you have to be a little more cautious. But then if it is a delivery that you think you can score, take that opportunity. But one of the things about assessment of spinners too, you have to assess which one of the deliveries any spinner would leave a little longer in flight. That is when you use your feet, because then it gives you enough time. Because if you have ample time to wait to play defensive, you have the same ample time to take a chip or two, but you must have the confidence. You just don't chip without that integral aspect, confidence.
Victor, I really wanted to reintroduce you and your batting prowess to an audience probably who would know and understand that you have 5 first-class centuries. How many of them are Shell Shield centuries?
Four, and
Four,
one is
four,
and one
four.
is against the Windward Islands in the
Right.
trials because it was
Yes.
classified then as first class. Yeah.
So you have 4 Shell Shield century, and a lot of people wouldn't know that Viv Richards didn't have a first-class century a Shell Shield century
Yeah.
when he made the West Indies team. He had county centuries.
Yeah, because
but
he went
did
off
not
to
have-
county cricket.
Yeah, but he did not have at the time when he made the West Indies team a Shell Shield century. I just wanted to put your batting prowess in perspective because I'm going to ask
Chesley,
you.
sorry, I believe that could be subjected to correction
You may try.
Against Barbados.
I am going to tell you.
Against Barbados, you remember I scored 58. That has been my highest score in regional cricket against Barbados. And I think in that same innings, Richards might have scored 100.
Which year?
Well, off of my head, I'm subjected to correction.
That's my point.
I'm subjected to correction.
But that's my point. Remember, Viv Richards was part of the 75-76 tour of Australia, and he debuted in India. So it has to be after that.
Okay, well,
And that's what I'm telling you.
well, you are fundamentally more
Right,
abrasive
right.
with the
At the time when Viv debuted for the West Indies, he had county centuries, but he didn't have Shell Shield centuries.
That's amazing,
understand?
and a lot of listeners would be interested
In knowing that
conversation.
there are things like that I'm quite aware of, Victor. You're looking at guys like Ralston Otter who scored, centuries.
7.
And never made the West Indies team at a time because the batting was where it was, and Ralston Otter was just an excellent batsman, whether of spin or pace. An excellent cricketer. You can go through different players, a different era, who did not get an opportunity, and one thinks that who should have been selected or where the opportunity lies or who should not have gotten an opportunity and who made a mockery of an opportunity. I always say you don't pick yourself, If you picked yourself then and you fail, then that's up to you. But if because others pick you, you can't blame the batsman. You have to look at the selection panel. I think we have reached a perfect juncture the way we think. When we come back, we're going to talk about cricket in general and batsmanship in general, Victor.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is Win FM.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Are you ready for 48 hours of savings? At TDC, your VAT Day specialists are ready to serve you. Shop around the clock, in store and online at shoptdcgroup.com. Save 20% off your purchase, plus the reduced VAT offer on Friday 15th and Saturday 16th August 2025. Whether you're sprucing up your home or vehicle, upgrading your tech, or getting ready for back to school, TDC has what you need. Get it all at the TDC Home and Building Depot, TDC Automotive Divisions, and shoptdcgroup.com. Mark your calendars, Friday 15th and Saturday 16th August. Shop for 48 hours of unbeatable deals with TDC, your VAT Day specialists. Terms and conditions apply. See stores for details. TDC, together we succeed.
People make the world go
Yeah, Victor. Victor, if I were to pick a all-time West Indies 11, most people say they'll be opening with Greenwich and Haynes, but I will have Christopher Henry Gale opening my batting with one of them, whichever one someone wants to choose. I will put George Headley at 3. I'll put Brian Charles Lara at 4. I will have Viv Richards at 5. Number 6. Somebody might want me to have one of the W's, but I'm going to put Sir Gary at 6. Sir Gary at 6. Here's where I'll bring one of the W's. I'll bring the one that Wiki keeps, which was so.
That's Clyde Walker.
That's Walcott. Now, number 8, I'll have Andy Roberts. No, Malcolm Marshall. Malcolm Marshall, Andy Roberts. I will then have I will then go for Joel Garner and Courtney Ambrose. That is my 11. Somebody else may choose something else. Someone else may want a spinner. Someone else may want a different wicketkeeper bat. But that would be my 11.
Okay, I will go this way.
Yeah.
Our all-time 11 of West Indies cricketers at Test level. Opening, Gordon Greenwich, Conrad Hunt.
Okay.
George Headley at 3. Brian Charles Lara at 4. Viv Richards at 5. Sir Garfield Sobers, His Excellency, at 6. Everton Weeks at 7. Defrey Jujan at 8. Malcolm Marshall at 9. Anderson Roberts at 10. And Curtly Ambrose at 11. That would have been my overall. And why I have Sobers in there, because of his exceptional and still, in my view, the greatest all-rounder the game has known at Test cricket, is that he can bowl 4 formats as a bowler. He can open with the new ball, 1. He can also come back and bowl finger spinners, which is left-arm orthodox spin. And then he can also bowl leg break, back of the hand, and googly. So there was no need for a Lancelot Gibbs or any other, because Sobers, and then along with Malcolm Marshall, Sir Andy Roberts, and Curtly Ambrose, and that would have been my 11 there.
If you need some off spin, you'll ask Viv to throw away his hand.
Well, in that sense, really, but then that capacity as Sir Garfield Sobers, it might not have been a necessity. But then everybody would be entitled to their 11.
Yes.
But also, too, you see, the thing is with those sort of things, because all those players came from different generations.
And different eras.
And a lot of persons who wouldn't have known C.C. Hunt and so forth. I mean, he was very, very good. I mean, some people only equate batsmanship in terms of hundreds or figures, but a lot of times it's much broader than that, really. And so for that segment, I think there was not much of a difference between both of us 11s. But there again, our listeners will have their views and would share their views. But could we go on to batsmanship?
I will come back to batsmanship, but just one footnote to one of the things that I said. A lot of people don't know that Christopher Henry Gale, his 333 is the highest score by any West Indian outside of the West Indies. And when you look through his career, and the number of runs, the average, it's stacked up to most of the openers that we have produced. And therefore, I want to have him in that conversation no matter what.
The difference, you see, and
on across formats as well.
well, that is in any way that cannot be discredited. But I more looked at it from an angle. Yes, Test cricket is the highest level of cricket, is the examination. But a lot of times, Chesley, I personally, as a former cricketer, I like to look at opposing bowlers, not always figuratively the figures coming out, because that also too can be a different conversation. Who played against better quality bowlers and so forth. So that is why too, and also because the conditions where there's only one bouncer per allowed in Chris Gale generation and in Conrad Hunt's and Viv Richards' generation, you could have bowled a numerous amount of bouncers.
You had eight ball overs.
Yes, and that is where Sir Don Bradman came into the picture by ending up with a 99 test average, because the percentage of 8 ball overs, and also in that generation of cricket, they never used to cover the pitches.
Uncovered pitches.
So a lot of times when people say the greatest batsman of all times, I respect people's views, but I prefer to go in the generations.
In different eras, different bowling.
Because it was totally different rules, different conditions, and so forth.
The advent of the helmet.
But what I can clearly say, without any apology, in the generation of Brian Lara's cricket in Test career, he has been the greatest batsman that Test cricket has seen, hands down. Now, there is a conversation about Sachin Tendulkar, but persons who follow the history even more closer than we do would know that Brian Lara scored centuries at all Test venues around the world, where Sachin Tendulkar, a great batsman, don't get me wrong, but he scored most of his runs in the Asian continent. So Brian Lara more comprehensively around. And when it came to playing spin bowling, when being interviewed, the late Shane Warne, Mulitaran, and Glenn McGrath as a fast bowler, and whoever was the interviewer in those times, asking the questions, all those three bowlers used to say that Brian Lara gave them the greatest challenge in terms of getting his wicket. And you spoke earlier about the value of a wicket.
I hear you. I look at many analysis and so on where they have rated Tendulkar over his 20-year career, and they have him up there based on whatever they are saying. And, Brian just didn't just score runs. He scored them against me, and he scored big runs. And I have had the opportunity to see Brian bat, not when he made his triple century or anything like that. I saw him make when he made his first century in Trinidad. I always remember because the ball ended up in my hand on the boundary, and I got some choice words from not Glenn McGrath, but Gillespie.
You have that ball as a souvenir?
No. Because in baseball, I'll hold on to it, but I had to throw it back, and that is what caused the problem with Gillespie, because he wanted me to throw it back right away, and I wanted to celebrate before I throw it back, and he gave me some choice words in order to throw it back.
Okay.
I saw him touring the other day, and I would have liked to give him back a little message, but he didn't come to St. Kitts. But Victor, what looking at cricket these days, and I have an observation. My observation is that most of the West Indies batsmen, the center of gravity is too high. The center of gravity, they have a straight back foot, many of them, and they have problem transferring the weight from the back foot to the front foot. You are a tall man. Cricket speaking, the most of our batsmen are beneath 6 feet. The great batsmen. I mean, there are some exceptionally tall, those who are tall, who are good, like Kepi and the opening batsman there for Australia, the left-hand one that opened with Hayden. That had broken. He broke Lara's record at one time.
Matthew Hayden?
Matthew Hayden. You know, these are guys who are tall, but and
Christopher Gale.
You know, yeah, Christopher Gale, and they have made certain Clive Lloyd.
Yeah, Clive Lloyd too.
You know, they're tall, but they did certain things in their technique to lower the center of gravity.
Tom Graveney was tall too from England.
And batted. Well, and I see batsmen just sitting back, waiting for the ball to bounce stump high so that they can play it on the up, but having them transfer the weight to the front foot and play proper cricket shots. I see a problem, and I don't want to say that batsmanship is not. We're not seeing it emanating from the stroke play of West Indies batsmen today. I had the opportunity to see two youngsters bat for the Leewards in the 4-day competition. That impressed me. Young Joel Andrew in the 4-day match, playing proper cricket shot, proper cricket technique, and young Go. Now I'm seeing them playing the T20 version and trying things which is causing me to close my eyes. I don't want them to get these bad habits and think that that is the way to play cricket, to the white ball that doesn't swing as much as the red ball, and forget that batsmanship is about getting that pad out to the ball, hitting it on the pitch, getting to the pitch of the ball, transferring weight, playing the ball on its merit, and so on. So I'm talking batsmanship in the West Indies context, Victor. And yes, when the ball is moving, whether it's the pink ball or the red ball, what are your observations in cricket today?
Well, good conversation, and in participating upon that aspect of this conversation, in this cricket conversation with Chesley Hamilton, it is very important, and I have my views about batsmanship, and in references to the late Richie Beno, who was leg break and googly bowler of Australia, and then when his career concluded, he was very historical in terms of cricket from the generation that he was in and up to when he was deceased. And in following some of his mentorship, I would like to agree with him, which I have noted, and I will read, and as follows. Number one, being comfortable in stance at the crease, whether you are left-hander or right-hander. Number two, assessment of the surface that you're playing on, which is the cricket pitch. Number three, patience. Number four, shot selections. And then he made, amongst so many of his valuable observations, where he did mention playing every ball on its merit. Number six, understanding the percentage of the wind, especially when it is coming from east to west. Indications can be given by the flagpoles, more so on the eastern side of the ground, because the pitch is always north and south.
Except
now,
except one.
Two, well, probably except one or two. But usually that is the aspect of laying of cricket pitch on most cricket venues. It's usually north and south.
Yes.
Well, to go into some technicalities now, as Chesley was speaking about the gravity, which is very important. So let me make an example then. Okay, I am over 6 feet tall. So it would mean then, as I settle as a right-hander in my stance, I will have to crouch, first of all, a little lower. So my gravity can be equally balanced on both legs. And then what most batsmen should be doing, this is based also to of what the late Richie Beno did indicate, that when the hand goes up, especially for a fast bowler to start with, if it is high, what can be the more appropriate delivery coming from that height, whether he is 5 feet or 6 feet? It can most of the times be a Yorker length delivery.
Yes.
The lower the arm goes, it is a more inclination that you can receive a bouncer,
Shorter ball.
a shorter delivery. So on that aspect, Chesley, I totally in agreement with you that also too, that has to be an observation, not when the ball is released. The height that the fast bowler has kept his hand. Okay, let's take, for example, Joel Garner. He's coming from that high. So, and he was so effective with the Yorker. So that is the perfect example in this conversation about the Yorker delivery. And then the shorter arm, which is the bouncer, which the late Malcolm Marshall was the master of that. And so all those segments are the type of knowledge that batsmen should be acquainted with, apart from the basic skills. What from the action of a bowler, what to expect. Now, I will go into our next aspect. Chesley is a right arm leg break and googly bowler. He's going to be bowling to Victor Eddy. Knowing that he also bowls the googly, which would mean then as a right-hander, for those of you who are very knowledgeable of the game, would know that an off break from the back of the hand, it comes into the right-hander like an off break. But in so executing that delivery, what batsmen are supposed to look for, Chesley, is that the left shoulder is going to drop lower, it's going to be lowered, and the bowling arm as the right armor, it's going to be coming close and even brushing the right ear of the right arm leg spinner, and that is the googly. So when players have that sort of education, when it arrives in a game like Shabsny from South Africa, for example, left arm. So then, because he's left arm, his right shoulder is going to be lowered, and then his left arm, which is the bowling arm, is going to come closer to his left ear. So when batsmen would then see that, it can be not the leg break, it can only be the googling.
These sort of things are very, very important. I looked at a video the other day where Sachin Tendulkar was saying that Pedro Collins
from Barbados,
was running behind the umpire, and he couldn't see him, and because of that, he couldn't see which direction the ball was turned, because he wanted to pick up the shiny side of the ball in his hand, and therefore he had literally had to be standing up outside the off stump, trying to pick up how Pedro Collins had the ball in order for him to know which way the ball was going to swing from Pedro Collins. And I say that because that is Tendulkar. He wanted to see it as early as possible. Now, in a conversation with Sir Garfield, I had with him at the Hilton in Trinidad. So Gary said, Chesley, I am not looking at no side screen and back there who moving or what. I'm not looking for that. I am looking at the bowler's hand, and I want to pick up the bowler's hand. And once I pick up the bowler's hand, that's when I start. And I'm trying to pick up his hand when his hand reached the highest point. Why? Because once I pick up his hand at the highest point, he has the line of the bowler. He only now has to judge length. If he let it go early, it's coming up to him. If he holds on to it a little bit more, he's pitching it short. So he only has to now decide length. And so Gary was saying that to me because he said he doesn't understand why guys are looking at side screen and who's moving in the crowd and all that. He said he didn't care one iota what was going on behind there. He was focused on the bowler.
Well, and to extend by that valuable observation and hearing it from none other than, as I would respectfully always refer to him as His Excellency,
Right.
Sir Garfield Auburn Sobers, the greatest all-around cricketer up to this day that the game have seen. And I used to have that same aspect about as a batsman and so forth, because a lot of times in growing up, we never played with side screen in the background, and when people crossing and thing, I never used to hold up and pray about people passing behind and thing. I want to see what the bowler coming with, because be on a boundary which is some 75 yards or even more, based upon what venue you're playing at. The thing is, when you go into your stance, you must be expecting what is going to be the release of a bowler, whether he's fast or spin, and all other things are secondary on the back burner. So I too used to have that aspect whereby a bowler is going to bowl to me. I don't care how much people walking behind the bowler's arm. I watching at the bowler and seeing what he's coming when he's going to release. But the thing with Pedro Collins is interesting, whereby what Pedro Collins used to do is also to, even though he was in line with this presiding umpire, he never showed which side of the ball it was. He hit it in a sort of way that the batsman, like his palm facing the batsman. So even though Tendulkar, which was a good technique too, to try to go further on the off stump to see if he can pick up that. But he wasn't showing him like the usual way that most bowlers now would give the batsman an indication. But the excellent point amongst so many excellent points that you have made, Chesley, that I'm appreciative of, is that aspect about His Excellency Sir Garfield Sobers. Look for what the bowler is going to come to you with. And as we go further into...
But as a batsman, when the bowler's hand reached to that point, at that juncture, the highest point of elevation, is there something that you do as a batsman or a batsman should be getting to? And I'm specifically referring to trigger moves. Where and when should one begin? Because I tend to feel, whether it's to spin bowling or to pace, batsmen are responding and depending on talent. And at the top level, when you allow bowlers that are so accurate like McGrath and others to hit their spots, Bumrah, you're going to be reacting, and there's one of those balls going to have something on your name. Your name on it. So what should one do at that juncture in terms of their trigger move?
Yes, well, very important and valuable question, Chesley. I'm appreciative of it. One, any bowler, and there's, as you know, there's no documentary that persons can go to see a Victor Eddy, to see a Ralston Otto, to see a Sholan Williams, to see a Luther Kelly, and to see a Livingston Sargent, to see a Hesketh Benjamin, for examples. So I used to use my own incentive. Well, okay, if I move slightly to any bowler, which I usually did before that point of release, sometimes at the last moment too, even though coming from that height, if that's the fast bowler, from the high arm, the highest point of release, most of the times it's a full toss or an attempted yorker. So you're already in a position to execute. And the best way to execute is to what some will refer to playing it in the V, some would say play it in the arc, straight down the ground, whether offside or leg side, because the easiest place for batsmen to get runs is when they use the whole circumference of the bat by playing it straight. And that is still, well, every batsman will have what stroke they prefer, but I usually did prefer playing it straight mid-off, and mid-on, which in it is getting your wicket because you're using the straight bat.
The full face of the bat.
The full face of the bat, so to speak. Now, with the spinner who is coming, whether he's left arm orthodox, right arm orthodox, the higher he comes in terms from where his hand is and released in, it's almost, most of the times will be a full toss or just a delivery on a good length where you can also play it straight with the full face of the bat. Those should be the early recommendations in terms of batsmanship and starting an innings. Always be looking to play it up. Any type of bowler to play it up into the arc. Now, the movement is, for me, and we can make two comparisons here, Chesley. Shivnarine Chandapal and Victor Eddy. Shivnarine Chandapal, he stood in a square-on position. But as a left-hander, his left foot was already covering the off stump.
Yes.
Now, in reverse to Victor Eddy, standing in the position, balance as a right-hander.
What guard was your normal guard?
Center and leg.
Center and leg. Okay. Midland leg.
Midland
Okay.
leg. Midland
Yes,
leg.
yeah.
So that is between middle and leg stump, as we understand. So Chandapal did it different, and I think that was a better method upon reflection now as to what I used to do and most others used to do in our generation of cricket. The late James
Allen.
Harris Matthew coming in to bowl to Victor Eddy. Just on his point of delivery, because he had a high arm action with a slight round arm action delivery. So here's Victor Eddy pushing his right foot diagonally across the crease. So then, based upon the width of the stumps, in the extension that I would have extended my right foot, I would know that I have covered my off stump. So when my left foot now is coming forward, whereby I'm equally balanced, I'm able to shoulder arms and allow it to go through to the wicket keeper. In reverse, the batsman who might be doing, or who would be doing, by as a right-hander, pushing their right foot back to the stumps, it will always leave them totally unbalanced.
Okay. So balance. Okay. Balance is key. Balance is the key.
Balance is the key, and I hope that I have opened that door to those listeners who would be listening more so, Chesley, especially those who are in the academy process. Because if we can focus on our under 13s and those implementations can be established early, it would be very fundamental for more comprehensive and successful performances in the future.
All right. Victor, we'll take a break, and then when we come back, we'll continue this conversation.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9 Win FM.
Yeah,
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects or sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib. It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Are you ready for 48 hours of savings? At TDC, your VAT Day specialists are ready to serve you. Shop around the clock, in store and online at shoptdcgroup.com. Save 20% off your purchase, plus the reduced VAT offer on Friday 15th and Saturday 16th August 2025. Whether you're sprucing up your home or vehicle, upgrading your tech, or getting ready for back to school, TDC has what you need. Get it all at the TDC Home and Building Depot, TDC Automotive Divisions, and shoptdcgroup.com. Mark your calendars. Friday 15th and Saturday 16th August. Shop for 48 hours of unbeatable deals with TDC, your VAT Day specialists. Terms and conditions apply. See stores for details. TDC, together we succeed.
People make the world go round.
Now, Victor, before we left a while ago, you were talking about balance. And is that balance in terms of back and forth? And when I say back and forth, going towards the off stump and leg stump, or that is going towards the bowler and the wicket, and the keeper? Which balance are you talking about?
Okay, more so, where the balance is more appropriate is to any type of spinners, because with the fast bowlers is more shuffling. But also in shuffling you must be balanced, both either way, forward or backward, right? So, a spinner. Say, for example, El Comido Willett, top-class spinner, left-arm orthodox spinner. And because he's a big spinner of the ball, you should not believe in your crease. But you still give him that little, as a right-hander or left-hander, the front foot, which for me as a right-hander, just slightly giving him an indication like I'm coming, but I'm not really coming. But if he pitches it on a good length, the bat and pad must be very close together. Not even a shed of light should be seen between bat and pad. But also, if it is that it's...
We will take a caller,
Okay,
Victor,
go ahead.
and then we'll come back. Okay, go ahead, caller.
Yeah, good morning, Chesley.
Good morning, Jamna.
Good
How are
morning,
you?
Chesley. And good morning, Victor Eddie Spafford.
Good morning, Elvis.
Caribbean when it comes to spring bowling.
Good morning, Elvis.
Chesley, I want to thank you to talking cricket. I want to thank you to talking cricket. It couldn't be better today, at this Saturday morning, to discussing cricket with a veteran like Victor Eddie. You know, I want to ask you two in the studio, where you all think is the real problem I think is cricket? It is bad managing or too much wrong peg in square hole. I personally feel too much wrong peg in square hole. I don't know how I feel about it. Because hearing Victor outlining a lot of things to young cricketers who might be listening, I think that young man there, Shane Ketch, should have do something for Victor Eddie. If not Victor Eddie, his daddy, who will believe in Warner Park. Because if we could have buried Alvin Austin Eddie in Warner Park, he would have really get a grave. That was the founder of Warner Park. And it's a shame to see these men, Heskett, Austin, Gilbert, all the veterans, Mike Harris, none of them being honored. Even the park keeper, like Old Webster and Demon, the inventor. Nothing has done for them. And I very, very annoyed. Very, very annoyed. Have a good morning. I will be back.
Oh, thank you, dear Elvis. And talking about Cyril Webster and so forth, and he is right. He's coming from the historical perspective. And really,
Yes.
yeah, and even to really, and Heskett Benjamin, technically as an opening batsman, he would have a lot to offer too in terms of his technique, and he in terms of what he can offer by just being one of the mediators, because technically too he was a very technically good batsman. It's not always figuratively how much runs you score a lot of times, because also in his generation in Leeward Islands cricket tournament there were some very good opponent bowlers in that time, for those of us who know that generation of cricketers. But let me say this about the late Austin Alvin Eddie, my father. There is no one living and who has gone to the great beyond, has done more for St. Kitts cricket, Leeward Islands cricket, and for cricketers in general. The late Austin Alvin Eddie, and many persons who knows the history of St. Kitts cricket would know that players which I prefer to refer to as the rural areas always had more challenges to make a St. Kitts national team in cricket. And the late Austin Alvin decided he is going to form his own cricket club, which was the St. George's Cricket Club. And from every rural area on the island of St. Kitts, he incorporated at least 2 cricketers towards his club. Minimum. And in conversation in cricket, I asked him, well, Daddy, why you did that? He said, Victor, I wanted to give everybody an equal opportunity, because talent and skill does not have anything to do where you were born or where you live. When the late Edgar Gilbert made St. Kitts team for the first time, they were going over to Nevis because it used to be played on a knockout basis in one island. And people from Bastille went to the Bastille roadstead, and Boo Gilbert, as a person and player, excellent all-arounder, who, second to none, only Sir Garfield Sobers within that generation of cricketers in the West Indies was a greater all-rounder than the late Edgar Gilbert. And when that happened, my dad told me that he hugged Gilbert and said, "You're going to be my roommate, because talent does not and skill does not have to do where you were born and where you're from." And from there, look what happened. So the foresight of the man, the vision of the man, the accommodation of him. And when that club was opened up, that was then when the opportunity was more on a broader spectrum, that more persons from the rural areas got an opportunity to represent St. Kitts in Leeward Islands cricket
there
tournament.
was St. Christopher, and then there was St. George's.
St. George's,
and then you had evolved into Progressive?
And no, St. George's was the Calvin Wilkin and the Leroy Coury and the Ivan Kelsics.
Yeah.
That was more from the say, you know.
Yeah, I understand that was.
And then you had Progressive.
And Progressive, but
and then you had Renown.
Yeah, but you spoke about St. George's.
St. George's was then the two established clubs before Progressive and Renown was St. George's and St. Christopher.
Okay, now I got it. Now I got the history.
So you know, and because to a lot of these things are not documented, a lot of people don't know that the late Austin Alwyn Eddie years too, and I have the documentation not yet with me on hand. There was a trial match in Guyana in the 1950s.
Yeah, I know of that.
And he was one, and he got 5 wickets for 4 runs in the trial game.
He and Ted. Wasn't it Ted Hobson, one of those who...
Ted Hobson, yes, he was the wicket keeper.
Right,
and Tennyson from Antigua.
Yes.
And
really, he still didn't get a chance to play.
He did not.
Right.
So it's a long time the insularity being circulating.
Yep.
And the thing is, though, also too,
he got 5 wickets for 4 runs.
5 wickets for 4 runs. I have the documentation. Okay. And on the next program, with your consideration, that's a possibility where I can disseminate more information. But for the St. Kitts Cricket Association is going to be having some celebrations, all being well, in the new year. And I have certain things documented that I will make certain presentations
I have read In Defense of None.
In Defense of None was written by the late Austin Alwyn Eddy.
Yes. Yes. Caller, sorry about that, caller. Please call back. Please call back. We'll take your call. Caller, you there? Good morning.
Yes, Dan. Good morning, man. Yeah, good morning to you guys, man.
Good morning.
Yeah, thanks for talking cricket, man. Yes, it's a pleasure to actually. That's the great Victor Eddy, right?
Yes, that's who you're listening to. Just don't say late great.
Yeah. Austin Eddy is the late great. The greater one is Austin Eddy. Victor Eddy is the living one.
Not at all. The great Victor Eddy.
Yes.
Let me acknowledge that. And I guess you had a light moment there, but I believe the last time I saw him, the top of his head wasn't looking like that.
Oh, yeah. Last time you saw him, he had some dreadlocks.
Definitely.
That
was when I was a little boy, man.
Okay.
And as a little boy, growing up in Nevis, from Cotton Ground, and I'm put my name out there one more time. My name is Burl Jones from Cotton Ground Village, and I'm from the cricket family. Livingston Sargent, that's my uncle, and you know the rest of the guys.
Wonderful.
Everett Sargent, Dermot Jones, my brother. And unfortunately, in terms of cricket, I migrated out of St. Kitts and Nevis 1985.
All right.
I believe personally, if I had stayed there, I would have made West Indies still. I was with the likes of Scott Williams. But anyway, I'm interested in maybe putting my views out there in terms of, I see it's a need for us to start up a cricket hall of fame.
Well, we have an organized cricket in St. Kitts. The St. Kitts Cricket Association is close to 100 years of.
Next year.
Next year is going to make 100 years. I mean, to say that we have put one person on the West Indies team in 100 years doesn't really show the quality of cricketers that we have produced. I mean, we know Daddy Joe played for England. We know other cricketers have come forward. And I like the fact that Victor spoke of the accident of birth, because if we were to talk about where you were born, we will steal one of Nevis cricketers. because that's what people don't. Some people don't know that Kyron Powell was born in St. Kitts. And there are people who do, some people who don't know and understand that he was born here. But he is a Division cricketer, and he represented Nevis and his family. Well, his dad is from Nevis. I think his mom is from Montserrat. But so you see how these things can happen. And it is about who you represent at the end of the day. So we need to have more people performing at the top level. I mean, St. Martin has produced Mr. Carty, and we need to be having more cricketers come through. We have Mikael Louis, Jerry has reached the West Indies team. He just didn't get an opportunity to play. These are some of the unfortunate things that have happened, and we want to see Jerry getting back to taking wickets and performing at the regional level to force his way into the West Indies team as that fourth seamer / all-arounder. And I know he's capable. I know he's a hard worker, and I know he's gonna when his opportunity comes, make us withdraw. And another caller on the line.
Yeah. I'm
All
here.
right.
I'm still
Well,
here.
let us take.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Yeah. How are you? Go ahead.
Mr. Hamilton, Mr. Eddie.
Yes,
How
sir.
are you doing? Richard Berridge here.
Hey, Richie.
How are you?
I am well.
I've been listening to you all for the last few minutes. Very interesting program.
Yes.
And just wanted to, give my 2 pence to the discussion.
Yes, Richie.
Which, I've been following, and it's been coming from different parts. But in terms of what you all just spoke about with regards to the former local legends, right?
Mm-hmm.
Being someone who was not necessarily around back then, because a lot of the, these gentlemen were around before I was born.
Mm-hmm.
But having been around cricket for, the last 30 years or so, I've known and got to learn a lot of what these former players would have contributed, and, the importance to cricket and how it's developed. I believe, though, that we need to pay recognition to them. We have a cricket stadium in St. Kitts now. We need to use the walls. We need to use the different stands and put information about these gentlemen, that all of the young folks and the people who visit, who come from various islands and from the diaspora to look at cricket, can learn about them, right? I don't think we do enough, even on social media, to tell the story of what these gentlemen would have done, right? I think that history has a part to play in cricket development even now, because you want the youngsters to understand and appreciate what persons obviously would have done in the past, right? So I think we need to do a much better job of documenting, all these past players who have made valuable contributions to cricket in St. Kitts. We cannot forget them, and we must use that information to chart the way forward. In terms of, you want the young cricketers to understand the commitment side of things. The technology is there now, the access to the technology is there, as I said. No, we have to plug the gap locally. We need to go back to basics, I believe. There's 2 main vehicles that will improve cricket locally. One, you have to have competitions, right? And to fuel the competitions, you have to have training grounds. And training grounds is a broad field by itself, because we do have a national academy, which I know some work has been happening, but we need to push the gas to get it in full swing, right? Now, in addition to that academy, the Len Harris Cricket Academy, you have to have feeder systems from the various communities. You cannot just have 15 or 20 players in an age group program and figure, well, that's it. You have to have the clubs that needs to be active. They need to have development arms of their institutions, whether it be Sandy Point, St. Paul's, Keon. They have to have a development team as part of their club that trains on a regular basis in their communities. That is how a whole feeder system works, from the small towns and communities to the National Academy to the regional, which is Leewards, to the West Indies.
You also have school cricket.
Well, of course, the school cricket as well, right? And I was happy to see that there was some school cricket back in the mix. I think both primary school and high school. We need to now use that and enhance it and ensure that, proper coaching and equipment is being provided to these kids, right? But we need competitions. We have to
There's so much
establish our clubs.
opportunity now, Richard. You have under 13, under 15, you have under 17, under 19. You have so many
Correct.
opportunities to have a career within the sports and both on both sides, male and female. That
Yeah.
parents have to start encourage their children to look at these avenues for scholarships, etc.
But the clubs have to establish a product that encourage the youngsters to be part of. If you're from Molineux, Keon, or St. Paul, I don't want to pick on any particular place, right? But you need to have a club that is active, that has a home ground. We have a lot of cricket grounds around the island. There is no shortage of facilities.
Richard,
right?
I want to ask
Now-
you this question.
Mhm.
There's an issue of money, and let's not run away from it. When you played cricket, when you and I played cricket, and you're significantly younger than I am, but you could take the roller and pull it over the pitch, and we will have a game. We'll pound down some stumps, and we'll have a game. Today, you have people who are preparing the grounds. That's their full-time job. You have to pay them. You have to work. If they have to, if you have to deal with covers, and it costs a serious amount of money now to just practice. Oh Lord, it seemed like he dropped out.
No.
Oh, okay. Richard, I am asking you, how could we deal with the issue of the skyrocketing costs of, let's call it practice? I'm not even going to say playing the game.
Well, look, when I was at the Leeward, I spent a year at Leeward Islands as CEO. When I left the West Indies team, I spent a year at Leewards to get things together. And the first 6 months was very interesting because every idea that I put out there, I got, oh, that can't happen. Oh, that's not possible. Oh, how you going to get that done? Right? And I'm like, oh, before you even put together something and make an attempt to try to either get sponsorship or to get support, everybody's just like, no, it can't happen. It's going to cost you an exorbitant amount. And I took that challenge on myself. And that is when we actually had the first Leeward Islands tournament in years. And I don't know if we've ever had one with all 8 territories participating, right? It was held in St. Kitts. We also had the under 15s. And the cost in which we operated that was far less, right, than I was told it could happen. Because guess what? We put together plans. We went to different entities. I went to the Department of Sport and I said, hey, this is our budget. I know you have groundsmen who are full-time, who work in full-time for Department of Sport, right? We can't afford to pay them the same time you're paying for them. So this is my budget. We are willing to pay each groundsman an X amount of dollars, a flat fee, to prepare a wicket for 5 Leeward Islands games in Connery, for 6 Leeward Islands games in Warner Park, for 5 in St. Paul's. This is the fee we can pay them. Can you please organize to get the wickets prepared, right? And we had the discussion. They came back to me. We were able to get it for at least 40%, right, of what I was being told it could happen for. We spoke to the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard provided us with services to bring the team from Montserrat. We were able to save a lot on airfare, right? Vernon Springer was working with us at that point. We hit the market. We went to Carib. We went to Coca-Cola, the Sun. We got sponsorship for stuff that people just, but we can't afford it. The point I'm making here is that if the clubs establish themselves, right, and organizes themselves, then they can go to seek support. If you, for example, if you're, say, St. Paul's Cricket Club, you have a ground, and I think they're fairly active. I think they do quite a bit, right? But if you need support to get something done there, you go to the Department of Sport, you show them your plan, you discuss it with them, and you make the approach, and you keep following up on it to try and get what you need. I'm not trying to suggest that you'll get everything you want. But how can you get any financial support, any sponsorship, when you don't have anything to show? There's no product that is you name me the clubs that are properly established and active right now. It's a problem. We need to have a league where, just like in football, we can go through the list and name the teams in football that are established. They have jerseys, they have a following, they have fans. They play in Warner Park, or they play in Newtown, or they play wherever they play the games. They have a well-established league, so they generate sponsorship. Every team has a sponsor, whether it's Rams, SL Horsewoods, Honda, you name it. I've seen a lot of sponsorship coming through for there because they have a well-established product. For too long, we have cricket games. This tournament starting on the weekend. It's like, what? How do you expect to get sponsorship like that? You have to have a season. You have to outline your season for 2026 by October. So everybody next year, your T20 is playing here, you're playing 2 days, you're playing one-day cricket here, and these are the venues, these are the fixtures. Then you're going to start to see, and you generate the money to help for the things that you just said. Because if your clubs are active and you're generating revenue, you can then, put on activities, get gear, invest in your development players, and so forth. No, I'm not trying to say this. I know there are other challenges that come with it, right? But we have to start somewhere, and we at least have to put a plan together and exhaust all options and move from there.
Richard, I'm happy for this conversation. I know you have traveled with the West Indies team throughout the world. You have been in the middle of many conversations, and you have seen cricket throughout the region and throughout the world. And I'm happy that you're having this conversation about cricket at the local level as well. I think Victor wants. I want Victor wants to say something to you as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, Richard, thank you for joining and adding this fruitful conversation to cricket conversation. But I'm very passionate, Richard, about the Len Harris Cricket Academy. And because at the under-13s and at that age group, I think there a lot of heavy emphasis have to be placed there in terms of development, looking at that generation, because there is where persons like Chesley and myself, and probably other persons like Hesketh Benjamin and so on, who could come in as mentors. So we form a team really to go in to enhance growth from that age so they can understand certain principles in terms of their development, which I think that should be high on the agenda for development of cricket in St. Kitts and Nevis, where that facility be more utilized in that aspect. Oh, and because, as you would know, that you have traveled extensively outside of the coaches who will be associated with teams, there are also other valuable information for development that putting together various teams can be more fruitful in the way going forward. So I want you to have deep considerations to formulating some proposals to that board of executives of the Len Harris Cricket Academy, so we can look at that nursery and develop it up for the future of cricket, especially between St. Kitts and Nevis, but in a way comprehensively in the West Indies, because other youngsters could be coming from various islands. And one of the things that came across to me, but I know it's going to come to cost, it would have been good if we could have had a primary school Leeward Islands cricket tournament. And that would be, but everything will come with financial costs and so forth. But for growth and development, those are the kind of things that cross in my mind, Richard. And thank you once again for being part of this program.
Sure. And what should really happen is that every territory should have a primary school tournament, and maybe the winner of that tournament can come and play in a Leeward Islands primary school championship.
Wonderful.
But we cannot just play a Leeward Islands championship and not have the tournaments in each territory.
Yes.
Yes, right.
And it's an entire... Every time I hear the conversation come up about how we're going to fix West Indies cricket, I'm like, why are we trying to get into rocket science? It is very straightforward and simple. You have the University of the West Indies. When you go there, you can study different disciplines, from law to engineering to accounting, you name the works, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you populate the University of the West Indies? It comes from students who go to primary school, go to high school, go to sixth form, and when they go into those various, they have to graduate with X amount of subjects. and then they gain entry into the University of the West Indies. If you remove the high schools and the prime schools, and if you shut them down, we cannot get any students, because you're going to be picking individuals who don't have any primary school and high school education to go to university, and they're not going to be able to do the work. That's just very simple, right? You have a West Indies cricket team now, whose discipline is playing cricket, okay? How do you expect to select a team to go and play against other nations that have a feeder system from under sevens? It is absurd to think that you can compete at the international level when you have no feeder system. So when you look at it, every island who participates in cricket must have a school of cricket or academy or high performance center, whatever name you want to put at it. But they must have a system in every territory to develop cricketers. So even in St. Kitts, which is probably the smallest territory or one of the smallest territories in the system, right, we still need to have a Dylan Harris Cricket Academy that is active with at least 4 to 5 programs. And even outside the Dylan Harris Cricket Academy, we need to have feeder systems coming from the various clubs, right? Because you have to generate a large pool of players to select from. That is why India, Australia, and England could pick second teams and third teams to compete and still do well, right? We don't have the luxury of doing that. And then the few players who we get to come out, then, they get picked up in leagues and then they're not available for West Indies cricket. So we have to wake up and understand that we have to be able to go to the governments with a solid plan. The education departments are one of the biggest budgets in governments. I mean, Jamaica has 400 plus primary schools. I don't know how many high schools. Barbados has over 100 as well. So the point I'm making here is that there are feeder systems for the education system, which we need. We need those systems in order to for our society to run and all the different aspects, healthcare, banking, everything. So why don't we think we need a system to feed the cricket, to feed an international cricket team? So we need to start with the basics, and we need every island to establish, in collaboration with the governments, right, to establish a school of cricket in their territories along with basic feeder systems.
And
so I don't want to hog the line for too long, but I'm just throwing out some stuff for further discussion.
And I'm glad you did, because I was pleased when Mia Motley linked cricket to healthcare, to education, and to crime prevention. And therefore, when those things came together, because if you organize playing 7 hours of cricket in a day, by the time you finish, whether it's in the sun or under lights, you have no energy to commit any mischief. And therefore, that is also part of organizing. I know you are somewhat of an amateur golfer, and I know if you play 19 holes or 18 holes, whichever it is, at the end of the day, you don't have the energy to do too much other. So therefore, it is important that we have sports like cricket to deal with a lot of the restless energy of young people and organize it so that we can get the best in terms of focusing it to benefit not only our economy, sports tourism, cricket, filling the stadiums, getting vendors, getting the economies going, having more people visit and hear about our countries and our places. I mean, the best ambassadors for Antigua are, so Viv and Andy and others. So therefore, we need those ambassadors out there in the sporting world to help build and promote our country and build our economy. And then when people come to visit, the vendors, the operators, the taxi drivers, the hoteliers, everybody will be making some money as a the spin-off effect and the multiplier effect of producing these things. So it's not just about producing education, lawyers, doctors, and so on. But if we produce sportsmen and cricketers and so on, these things help out our economy as well.
Yeah, but it's also, importantly, it's a career option.
Yes.
I mean, we encourage everybody to go to school, do their lessons, and I think even as a cricketer, you have to have that as a foundation.
And there are other things, there are other areas of cricket, especially some of what you did and using technology, you and Trent and others. There are other spin-off and residual industries that are available and there within the cricket industry. It is not just playing. There is umpiring, there is scoring, there is analysts, there is data collection, there's all sorts of other things.
The medical part of it too.
Yeah.
SNC. You know,
What's his name there
but
from
for the
Nevis was
cricketers
part of the
themselves,
West Indies setup for a while.
not everybody who will leave school will want to go and study finance or study legal. You know,
Yes.
we have a sport on our doorstep in which players can make it to the highest level.
And play
Not many sports
year
can do
round.
that.
And play year round.
Play year round. You can make more money than any professional in St. Kitts.
Yeah.
When I say any professional, even a lawyer, you can make more money than.
Far more.
I mean, some of these guys who have played in the IPL, they make 1.6, 1.8 million US dollars to work.
You know,
and that doesn't include all of the other stuff. And even on a domestic level, I was explaining it to somebody the other day. You get retained by Leeward Islands, and you play 4-day cricket and Super 50, not even any international cricket, and you can make well over 100,000 US a year without even playing international cricket. That is a realistic. I mean, if you do well and you stay in the system, you more than likely will get into CPL or you at least play T20 or Test or one day, whatever. You may get to. But the point is that this is something that you can do in your backyard. You can play an international game in your backyard.
Yes.
You can play a World Cup in your backyard. Do you think we'll be able to play a World Cup, a soccer World Cup in our backyard? No, unfortunately. Do you think we'll be able to play a basketball World Cup or a basketball Olympic game in St. Kitts? No. And I'm not in any way, because I've had these discussions with many people before, I'm not in any way taking anything away from the other sports, because I think avenues to play the other sports should also be provided. All I'm saying is, while we're discussing cricket and the focus is on cricket here, I'm just purely speaking about the benefits of playing cricket right now.
And I'm glad you...
something that should be encouraged.
Yeah. Richard, I'm glad you used that because, one contract for a football player for Manchester United could change the GDP of St. Kitts. But what is the probability or the likelihood that St. Kitts will be less than 100 in the rankings so that St. Kitts in of itself can play one of those games? Bring those sort of games here. Minimal. So therefore, I like how you put it because it's the same thing with the basketball, same thing even with the track and field. But we already have a test venue. We already have an international venue, and we can bring those sort of games, a World Cup game, on our shows into our economy to inject serious money into our economy.
Do you know what two players, right, playing in the IPL with a top-tier contract could do for St. Kitts Cricket Association? Ask Queen's Park Oval, right? How much money they've gotten. Because once you play in the IPL, the money doesn't go to the agency now. The money goes to the clubs that these players would have played with. So if we get a player from St. Kitts, I think he will go to the St. Kitts Cricket Association, right? Because it would be the tear down from Leeward Islands cricket. Just like it's the tear down from Trinidad Cricket Association is the Queen's Park Cricket Club.
Wow.
They have collected, I don't know the exact figure, but between Narayan, Bravo, and Pollard over the years, they've collected over $1 million in fees. Just by the play, because whatever, I think it's 10% or 7% of their salary, right, every year goes to their club. So if we get one or two players that make it through and perform well, St. Kitts Cricket Association could make serious money.
Wonderful.
And that is why they put that incentive in place so that, clubs and various territories can really try to develop their players and put them out there.
Wonderful.
So there's benefits for everyone, and of course we know when we host games, the economic impact, just as you mentioned, across the board, even for people who have nothing, even for caterer.
Richard, it would be remiss of me if I let you go without bringing up the Patriots. I know you were there and we had 5 games here. We won 2, lost 3. But, we're not seeing the St. Kitts Navy sponsorship. We're not. Patriots in of itself is now being sponsored by a Grenada investment fund. And the CPL, we know, the CPL has a contract with the government and for the venue. And what are your thoughts in terms of where that may be going and should there be, we know Jamaica is getting back a franchise next year. We don't know if Grenada is vying for one, but it would be. I saw a news release from I think it's saying it's Time, which is saying that our franchise might be leaving for Grenada. Any thoughts, Richard?
Yeah. So well, just for the record, my last year with the Patriots was in 2019, so I no longer work with the franchise.
Wonderful.
But so my thoughts are from on the outside, not from an inside.
Wonderful.
I think it's going to be difficult to move the franchise.
Yes.
Because there has been serious investments in the franchise and in the league. Remember in 2014, before we even had a team, we had the neutral games and the finals hosted in St. Kitts in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
In 2016, we also invested in the finals as well, but we had, and then 2015 was when the franchise came, right? And there has been significant monies.
And we save when the Antigua franchise fall, we literally rescued the CPL, and during
well, I don't think it folded. You know, it moved. Right?
I understand that
there was a fee involved to move it, and at that point, the St. Kitts and the investor at that point agreed to invest in it, right? So
and then during COVID, we hosted all the games again, coming to CPL.
We paid a hosting fee for those games, right? And because we understood, when I say we, the country understood that there was, economic benefits for having the entire tournament in St. Kitts. And you could ask any of the vendors and any of the suppliers, how beneficial that was.
Wonderful.
So we've always been there in terms of partnering with the CPL, right?
Great.
Now the ownership of the franchise is very different to the hosting of the franchise in St. Kitts, believe it or not. Right? That is a CPL and a government discussion. The franchise owner, this is the second owner of the franchise, right? I guess they can lead talks with the government and CPL, but at the end of the day, it's not going to be their choice alone. Now, I listened to an interview he did yesterday, and he said that it is a rumor, but he did admit that there is some more support that he's hoping to get from tourism, right? I don't think the tourism department right now, or the tourism authority rather, is a major sponsor of the team. When I was there, we had tourism on board. I think it was from 2016 or 2017 until I left. And I think that support dropped off, and I think that is what they're trying to get back on board. But he did say that he had a number of investments and he does a lot of work in Grenada, which is why the Grenada Investment Authority logo was on the shirt. That's what he said in his interview yesterday.
Could you forward me the link for that interview? I will appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Wonderful.
So in the owner's words, he said, but no, if the government or the tourism authority is not able to come up with that extra money, I don't know if that is going to affect them staying or not. But it will be very interesting to see what happens. I mean, if the team moves, it will be a really big disappointment. Because not only has there been money invested, but the fans have been invested in this team, in terms of supporting it. Even after losing 3 games in a row, look at the crowd that came out on Thursday night.
Amen.
So there is huge support, and I think it has done a lot for cricket in St. Kitts in terms of bringing out a younger following, people who never used to follow. And this was our strategy with the Pakistan, to create entertainment, pull people to the park who would not go to watch cricket, and now they love cricket. Look at them. Just look at the shots on TV and you see them into the game now. Yeah. And this is what the local association now needs to piggyback on.
Yeah. Richard, I want to thank you for your time and for this phone call.
Yes.
We drew a break, so thanks very, very, very much. And please forward me that link, and we're going to stay in touch. And we have to continue this conversation some other time. Perhaps during the finals. Perhaps during the week of the finals.
Yes, well, you have to have another program. Maybe we could discuss more how the CPL going maybe midway through.
Wonderful. Thanks again.
All right. We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are, wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Are you ready for 48 hours of savings? At TDC, your VAT Day specialists are ready to serve you. Shop around the clock, in store and online at shoptdcgroup.com. Save 20% off your purchase, plus the reduced VAT offer on Friday 15th and Saturday 16th August 2025. Whether you're sprucing up your home or vehicle, upgrading your tech, or getting ready for back to school, TDC has what you need. Get it all at the TDC Home and Building Depot, TDC Automotive Divisions, and shoptdcgroup.com. Mark your calendars, Friday 15th and Saturday 16th August. Shop for 48 hours of unbeatable deals with TDC, your VAT Day specialists. Terms and conditions apply. See stores for details. TDC, together we succeed.
People make the world go round.
We're back. Victor, I want to ask you this question without really going into details. Red ball cricket, pink ball cricket, white ball cricket. Your thoughts?
Well, the white ball, first of all, it moves less in terms of swing, and also the percentage of wind that is coming from east to west, that also will always be a premier factor in terms of the ball and the differences between the two. But naturally, the red ball, it swings more, so that would mean that all batsmen will have to negotiate the swing of the ball, especially coming from the seam bowlers, that's the fast bowlers. And once there is that strong wind coming from east to west, that usually presents also too, more so with the red ball, which moves much more than the white ball, a challenge to all batsmen. But we have seen in the exhibition cricket, which I refer to 2020 cricket as exhibition and test match cricket as the examination, I always believe for fast bowlers, the easiest way or one of the productive ways of getting wickets is when you can master the Yorker length delivery, because usually if the batsman receiving those deliveries and is not playing with the straight bat, usually it's going to be leg before or bowl down. And Jason Holder, the captain of the St. Kitts Nevis Patriots, he demonstrated that. It was, some people would say, better late than never, but it was too late. And most of the bowlers of the matches that we have seen since the inception of CPL, they are not placing heavy emphasis on bowling or attempting to bowl more Yorker length deliveries, which are usually more wicket-taking deliveries in 2020 cricket, because batsmen, especially for the last 5 overs, usually would have to try and accelerate the total. So if those aspects can be more worked on, I think bowlers can get better results in 2020 cricket if they can master the Yorker length deliveries. What I realized that the Australians fast bowlers, which are top class fast bowlers, did, not just in the 2020 or the 50 overs, but even more so in the test match cricket, the trum lines that the umpires have guidance and also bowlers have guidance to, they practice to bowling Yorker length deliveries just between those lines, but extra quicker than their normal deliveries, and then also setting the appropriate field placement for that, in that a third man and a wide point deep on the boundary, and also an extra cover to whether it's left or right hander. But players will have to go and put in their work.
We have a caller. Caller, go ahead. Hello.
Yes,
Caller, go ahead.
Chesley. Hello.
Yeah, go ahead, come now.
Yeah. I just called to big up. Yeah. I just called to big up Mr. Hesketh Benjamin, a man who got.
Turn down the radio. Jam down, turn down the radio in the background.
I could remember, Chesley, when Anthony Gray and when Anthony Gray, hold on. When Anthony Gray and all the Ambos were vying for the position as the second string fast bowler in the West Indies team, we had a problem with Ambos. Ambos was getting wickets from the time they leave. I think it's Antigua, went to Jamaica, and then they went, I think it's Nevis, and then went on to Trinidad to play in Tony Gray country. None of the West board umpires throughout the region was calling Ambos for the ball because the umpire in Barbados recognized that Ambos was up to Tony Gray. You know what he know? He called Anthony, he called a call the Ambos for three no ball. Heskett said that ain't gonna walk here. Heskett walk out.
You gotta watch the language.
Watch the language.
Yeah. Stop the game. And let the umpire know that ain't gonna work. That is not gonna work.
Yeah. Jam down.
I think Victor was playing the game at the same time.
Well,
Okay.
It was a game in Trinidad, and it was umpire Cumberbatch, and umpire Cumberbatch called Ambrose for no ball. Yes, sir. Heskett was the manager at the time.
Yeah, and also to jam down, Heskett went onto the field of play and then indicated to Cumberbatch, who was standing at square leg, that that's not going to work. Because then the situation was that Ambrose coming into Guaracora Park, which then, coming into that game, he had far more wickets than Anthony Gray. So that was obvious ploy by Cumberbatch staying at square leg and calling Ambrose for an unfair action. So that is where strong managerial skills come in. And Heskett Benjamin came out on the field of play and then had a conversation with Cumberbatch. And then things came back to normalcy when Heskett then drew to his attention that was unfair to Curtly Ambrose, because in all the other territories before reaching to Car Park, no umpire stood at square leg and called him for an unfair delivery.
And none ever after that.
And none after that, even after his entire career. So that was, as you indicated, very strong representation of Mr. Heskett Benjamin. And by extension to Jamdown, Heskett Benjamin would have a lot to offer in terms of his technical skills as a former opening batsman in the generation of Len Harris, Edgar Gilbert, and Leroy Coorey, and Livingston Sargent, and those guys. He will have a lot to offer in terms from a technical point of view. So the authorities would need to incorporate persons like him and many others. And even the two of us who are in the studio, we can be great mentors. But thanks for calling, and we truly appreciate it.
Jamdong, you there still? Here you go. Okay, all right, no problem. Okay. All right. Victor, you spoke about the white ball and the red ball, but you didn't mention the pink ball.
Well, the pink ball, to be quite honest, and I don't have so much practical information of it really in terms of the percentage of movement that it does. But I would, and I don't like to speculate on those aspects, so I would leave it for now. The next program, I will do some research where I can be more specific than to really speculate, because speculation is the lowest form of information at times, as equal to assumption. So I will prefer not to venture there. But I would hope, though, that a lot of the players of all the franchises in the CPL, if they would play close observation to Monroe of the Trinidad and Tobago Knight Riders, how he started his innings in 2020 cricket, that if you play orthodox strokes and your shot selections are spot on, you can get 100, and it can be accomplished so easy as it was done in that fashion. So if players are very observant and then realizing his methods of how he approached a 2020 innings, and if they can go in the nets and work out those similarities that can be very progressive for all the batsmen because, Chesley, as we know, you can get runs because we have seen Joe Root, we have seen the great batsmen in this generation of cricketers throughout the world that when they play the three formats as batsmen, they still apply the same basics. Now, people like to say, oh, Victor, that's old-time cricket. Basics are not old-time. Basics are basics. It's just a different generation. Because you know what I admire a lot, Chesney, personally, as a batsman? I like to see the reverse when the shot selection is spot on. More so, especially you will see from Monroe and those top-class batsmen, when it is deliveries, not pitch between wicket to wicket, because you can get ball down or leg before. The choose is whether it's outside the off stump or outside the leg stump. It doesn't matter what type of bowler. But it's not because you may like to execute the stroke, you have to practice to execute the stroke.
And it's shot selection. If it's outside the line of the off
That's
stump,
right.
you're playing a shot you can't get leg before. That is the start of smarts that you want to see implemented in the cricket. My observation, Victor, on the pink ball is that the pink ball moves a lot, it swings a lot. So therefore, I do believe that unlike the white ball that doesn't swing as much, I believe we should play a little bit more pink ball cricket because it will help our batsmen who want to be aggressive in the pink ball cricket when time now to rein it in and be more selective in the red ball cricket. I believe that it will help them to manipulate manipulate the crease, manipulate the bowling, and I think that we should play perhaps even our ODIs with pink ball, play T20 with the white ball, because white ball not doing much for our batting. You pick up the line, it's not swinging, you play through the line. So I think we should play a little bit more pink ball and play the red ball as well, so that it will help our batsmen. We are getting a good battery of fast bowlers, and if we're getting a good battery of fast bowlers in terms of the two Josephs and Seals, then we have to begin to work and develop in our batsmanship. And developing our batsmanship, I believe, if we could play some more pink ball, that will definitely help down the line. That is my observation. I think if we play the 50 overs with pink ball, T20 with the white ball, and then the red ball, we play the longer version of the game, I believe that can do something to help our game develop and evolve.
Well, what I think, and I would agree with your point of view to some extent, but actually the red ball and where batsmanship really develop, where you can just make the appropriate adjustments to the shorter version of the game. You have to be playing more of the longer version of the game as batsmen. So if even as we have to appreciate that if we can get back to Leeward Islands 3-day tournaments, then batsmen, all they have to do when they go into whether it's pink or white or blue ball is just to make the appropriate adjustment to what is before them or coming towards them. But batsmanship will be stronger developed by playing the longer version of the game, which you cannot be playing less of the longer version of the game to improve more in batting skills and batsmanship. So, yes, it's going to come down to finances and hosting 3-day tournaments and so forth. But if you're going to see a lot much more improvement in batsmanship throughout, comprehensively, but more so in the Leeward Islands, you have to get back to 3-day Leeward Islands cricket tournament. No, I'm not erasing 50 overs and 2020, but batsmanship, you'll have to learn now concentration, patience, discipline, knowing that in the longer version, you can bowl 5 maiden overs to a batsman. He must know that in another segment of the game, he will get 5 other overs that he can score off. But you have to have that patience at the crease, occupation of the crease. And you know, what is very significant in all formats, in partnerships, that you as a particular bowler, or I as a particular bowler, do not have the option of bowling too many deliveries to a particular batsman. It's easier to work him out. So in this generation of cricket now in the West Indies, comprehensively, we have to see a lot much more purpose of running between the wickets, especially when the ball is played on all deep areas of any field of play where cricket is played. And that starts from club cricket, come right up. So it becomes a part of adapting in terms of accumulating runs, because usually it is more difficult for a bowler to work out a batsman if the strike is exchanging and a consistent pattern, but more so especially if there is a left and right hander at the crease.
You know, you mentioned Joe Root, and what I noticed with Joe Root is that at one time he may bat off his crease, another time he may go deep in his crease, another time he may go and take an off-stump guard. So he's always manipulating where he's at, even if, for nothing else, just to manipulate the ball, let's say in the onside or to get a single and get off strike. And that is what I find tremendous about him. If more batsmen would observe these little things about his batsmanship, they will understand it's not about hitting the fours. Sometimes the best place to be is at the non-striker's end.
Well, and yes, that's right, and you can learn so much from the non-striker's end. But to the first point that you make by batting off of the crease, especially if there is a strong wind coming across the ground from east to west, wherever cricket match is played, but especially more so if a fast bowler is bowling who has very good swing and very good control. It means then, if you're batting off your crease, that means you're getting closer to the bowler, so you are curtailing the swing. If you bat deeper into the crease, the ball has more time to be swinging both into the right-hander or into the left-hander or vice versa. So that option of going and batting off of the crease usually is when a bowler is swinging the ball immensely. So to curtail that swing, that is why, as the example that you made, Chesley, by Joe Root, batting off the crease. Now, batting deeper into the crease, if a bowler like Michael Holding, which is more expressively fast, you need to have more distance. You need to have more distance. You need to have more distance from him. Now, in terms of batting more deeper into the crease, so the ball will take a little longer, even though it's going to be quicker, not longer really, but you will have a little much more time to play than if you're closer and you don't attempt to bat off of the crease, especially for that extra space. So those are the similarities and the little pinpoints that when you look at the great batsmen, like now that the technology is there, I think players should take time out, especially West Indian batsmen, to look back, please, upon reflection of Brian Charles Laro's innings throughout, all his innings. But then what players would have to do, because there could only be one Brian Laro, you are inspired by how he has gained success, but you have to go in the nets and put in hours of work ethics. Very, very important, because also to Shiv Narayan Chandapal was the permanent example of commitment, playing to his strengths, and not getting carried away by the flamboyancy of the Ram Rasara and the Brian Lara, Carl Hooper. Play to your strengths, play each delivery on its merit, and play what you're capable of playing.
Yeah, and that is so important that you understand your batting. If you're a back foot player or you're a front foot player, you have to know what your strengths are and how you're going to negotiate and play to that. You're listening to winnfm 98.9, and this is Inside the News. And what is Inside the News today is cricket. Yeah. What is inside the news today is cricket, and we've been talking cricket with Victor A. Eddie.
Well, sorry, to correction, it's E. Eddie, Emmanuel. The Lord is with us. Let us give thanks and praise to our Lord and Savior. You know, we have to, Emmanuel.
Victor E. Eddie.
Yes.
Emmanuel.
Yeah, but in the West Indies annual, where the late Tony Cozier, the great and late great Tony Cozier, was the journalist,
the author,
the
editor.
Yes, the autobiographies that he gave and so forth. The editorial, that he slated down Victor A. Eddie, but it is the same thing because
Yeah,
there couldn't
it's
there
your
couldn't
dad.
there couldn't be a son without a father. And
I guess that's
such
where I
a
picked
man,
it up.
a man, and you know the thing about my father and so forth and so on, like, and a lot of people found it amazing. Sometimes to test my skills, he will have conversations with opposing bowlers who would come up against me, like to give them tips what to try to him, because I am not. He used to say, "I'm not going with the crowd." He has to convince me. If he can play Willett and Parry superbly, I would say, "Well, Victor, you know, I'm hard to convince. After I see how you play, then I know that when you go to Trinidad and so forth, with all respect to Inchan Ali, Imtiaz Ali, and Djibouti and those guys, I know you will hold your own." One time I scored 100 in Albion with Ralston Otter. He also scored 100 too. And he sent a cable, right? That was daddy. But early in my innings, Chesney and listeners, I was late cutting and sweeping and got away with it. So Viv then in the team meeting, when I told him I received the cable, he said, "Can you give me the privilege to read it out in the team meeting?" And guess what the late Austin Alvin, my dad, said? "Cut out the dab and the sweep till next year." Till the next season, you know?
Cut out the dab and the sweep.
But I must tell our listeners, though, and Richard referred to it, and dissemination of cricketers and so on of information, not just hearing my voice now on this program, which I'm so appreciative of Mr. Chesley Hamilton extending the hand of inclusion and inviting me here, in that I'm in the process of my autobiography of my life and cricket. So a lot of that, I can only give you a part of the appetizer. I would not give you the main course. Is that because we are in the technological age too, there will be a lot of pictures shown of family and teams and cricket and conversation in cricket as so, because that is very important, not just about Victor Eddy, but if a lot more athletes in all different sports can take time, discuss it with persons like Chesley Hamilton, who can correct some of the areas of sentences and, you know, certain grammars and so forth, how to incorporate them and so forth. So I can't not right now declare, but Chesley will be a strong part of that process. So Richard and many others, I think that is a very important gesture on my behalf. So please look out for it in the future. And it is not in the far distance away before that will be something that generations yet unborn would be able, upon reflection, to go back to, Chesley.
Thank you. Now we're about to sum up, and normally it's Quintessential and myself. Quint, CPL was here. What did you do? Did you view any of the matches? Did you go to any?
I'm not a look. Let me be blunt. During growing up, I was never a sports person. Never my mom, she was very strict. I guess that is why I was rebellious. I was a juvenile delinquent because I rebelled against her restrictions, but no, I didn't get to play sports. I hit the books. I had to hit the books.
Wonderful. But I just wanted you on it because trust me, you know, all hands on deck. Quinn, you could be dealing with the technical stuff in terms of getting the broadcast from here to India. You know to Pakistan. You know, it's everybody. You know, CPL is not about just those who play.
Beyond the boundary.
Listening to you and Victor today, from the moment I heard the bell ring earlier this morning, and I realized it was Victor coming in, I said good morning, and he was coming up the steps, so he said good morning, and you know he's a very mannerable individual, so he says good morning. I am, and he was going to say who he was. I said, Victor Eddy. Who don't know Victor Eddy?
Those who are yet unborn.
So from the moment he got in, I knew that I was going to get a relief. Yes. Because I knew he would be able to narrate, and you would be able to be the one who was leading the questioning and that kind of stuff. So thank you both for giving me a bit of a break today. I learned a lot because even though I couldn't play any sports, I listen to sports and I love hearing games like football, American football, soccer, cricket. I'm a big cricket fan, and it's just that I can't play the games.
Wonderful. Trent, not Trent. Quint, I want to thank you for having us here today. And Victor, any final comment before we go?
Yes, and to all our listeners, thank you very kindly. And in future, we are obligated to hear any comments. But in all things social, we can be as separate as the fingers, yet the hand in all things essential for mutual progress. So thank you very kindly and look forward for our next edition. And to our producer, we say many thanks too. You don't have to play a sport to be appreciative of a sport. And we do appreciate your outstanding work that you continue to do. And I personally would like to wish you all the very best in the future. And we do hope that we brought something fruitful to all our listeners. And thanks again to inviting me, Chesley, by extending the hand of inclusion.
Yeah, I just want the listeners, if they take nothing else away from this program today, is that their careers in tourism, in sports, in up beyond the boundary of the game. And thank you, and thank Queen, and thank winnfm. You have been listening to Inside the News, and I am Chesley Hamilton.
You found the sound. 98.9. Win FM.
We now bring you the headline news. The headline news is brought to you by The Grange and Carib Brewery.
Swipe your card, live your life. National Bank life is nice. You can spend it when you want it, how you like, where you like. Swipe your card, live your life. National Bank life is nice. Home or away, any time of the day. Credit or debit, right in your pocket. National Bank card, so many benefits. Oh yeah, the choice is yours. Just come and embrace it.
Live your life your way. With purchases big or small. Mango, nuts, red fruit and all.
You can spend it when you want it, how you like, where you like. Swipe your card, live your life. National Bank life is nice.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built, non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts? It's situated at Otley's, 7 miles east of Basseterre in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodations to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020. Fax 466-8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
With the WinFM Midday News, I am Kevon Brown.
And I am Yolana Weeks.
Our top stories.
St. Kitts Nevis artist excited for his inaugural Carifesta showcase.
Second person charged in double homicide of Devon Paris and Jamarni Smithen. Julian and Nata convicted and fined $5,000 for offense of possession of cannabis with intent to supply. Caribbean leaders conclude dialogue on resilient prosperity for SIDS. Grenada Tourism Authority looking at ways to diversify. Internationally, Ghislaine Maxwell says Epstein client list does not exist.
Now the details.
Artist extraordinaire Vaughn Anslin expressed excitement to represent St. Kitts and Nevis at the Caribbean Festival of Arts 15, CariFest 15, in Barbados from August 22 to 31, 2025. For Anslin, the opportunity to showcase his work at such a prestigious event has been a dream come true. Anslin spoke to winnfm on August 22, 2025, as he prepared for the grand showcase.
To be fair, I think my acceptance for being sent to CariFesta has been a long time coming. I've always said I needed to go to CariFesta because I've seen the people that go to CariFesta, and I always felt that I should have been a part of that contingent in any way, shape, or form. But nothing happens before its time, and I was even willing to go on my own if I did not go this year. That's how passionate I was about this project. But as fate will decide it, I will be traveling to CariFesta with the St. Kitts contingent, representing the Federation. So I think that's a story in itself. But anyway, I am very happy for the opportunity.
Anslin's participation marks a significant milestone not only for his career, but for the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. He said, apart from displaying his own pieces, he hopes to gain insights into new techniques, themes, and perspectives from the diversity of Caribbean art that would be on display.
I will be definitely showcasing my work and myself, making my Federation proud. I want to network as much as I can to see as many fellow artists and to network with them, experience new styles, and see how new styles are spread across the Caribbean. It's more of a learning process for me, but also to let others know that my quality of work comes from such a small island federation.
Anslin revealed the collection of artwork he carried to CariFesta. The pieces for the showcase tell stories of heritage, daily life, and the struggles and triumphs of Caribbean people.
I am taking with me about 11 art pieces. I'm taking some fabric, fashion pieces. I'm also taking a lot of handbags with me and even some rocks that I've painted on, just to show the versatility and the diverse ways you can apply art to different things and different genres. I've also taken a lot of different styles, whether it be realism, abstract, contemporary, all of which I've included art display. But overall, I'm looking forward to this. I can't wait to get there later on today and set up my area and see how it goes from there.
The artist explained that the pieces were selected to highlight both tradition and modern expression, ensuring that his display captured the spirit of St. Kitts and Nevis and the wider Caribbean.
Dequan Dorr of East Street, Newtown, St. Kitts has been charged with the offense of accessory after the fact to murder. The charge is in relation to the murders of 30-year-old Devon Paris and 9-year-old Jamarni Smithen, both of Craddock Road, Nevis, committed on August 1, 2024 in Newton Ground, St. Kitts. Dorr's offense was committed on August 2, 2024 in Newton Ground. Dorr is the second person to have been charged in relation to this incident. He was charged on August 22, 2025 at the Bastia Police Station. The first was Jesus Valdez of John Street, Newtown, who was charged with both murders on December 23, 2024. Julian Nata of Main Street, Charlestown, Nevis, has been convicted and fined for the offense of possession of cannabis with intent to supply committed on April 19, 2025 at the Charlestown Pier. On August 19, 2025, Nata was fined EC $5,000 payable within 5 months. Should he default, he will serve 1 year in His Majesty's prison. Nata's sentence was handed down at the Charlestown Magistrate Court by His Honor Reynold Benjamin.
In regional news, Caribbean leaders conclude dialogue on resilient prosperity for SIDS, DBS St. Lucia reports.
The Caribbean Regional Dialogue, a pivotal meeting focused on advancing resilient prosperity in the Caribbean, ended on Friday at the Bay Gardens Hotel. Hosted by the OECS Commission and the Sasakawa Peace Foundation of Japan, the dialogue brings together regional leaders to explore opportunities in tourism, agriculture, the blue economy, climate and disaster risk reduction, economic development, and trade. Building on the momentum of the 2024 SIDS Modern Development Conference hosted in Antigua and Barbuda, the OECS Commission says it is committed to keeping the issues facing small island states at the forefront of the global agenda. Chamberlain Emmanuel, head of the OECS Environmental Sustainability Division, says that the Commission is pleased to partner with the Sasakawa Peace Foundation, since the foundation is instrumental in influencing global policy.
We have representatives from our member states, from the relevant government ministries, from civil society, from private sector, from regional agencies with competence in those areas who know well those issues, and so are able to grapple with the challenges and propose solutions, talk about the gaps, the capacity, the finance and other innovative issues that are required, as well as weaving in those technical areas priority on youth and gender and community involvement and technology and data.
The dialogue will inform the Sasakawa Peace Foundation of the challenges facing small island developing states. Similar discussions will be held in the Pacific Islands, Indian Ocean, and African countries. Next year, the Foundation is organizing a global meeting in Tokyo to address the common challenges SIDS face. In July, the Foundation will also co-host the World Island Summit with its sister organization, the Nippo Foundation.
In my understanding, the biggest challenge and the most serious challenge is, of course, climate change. Yes, this is so serious. And also, we are now currently discussing is, under this, political situations, under the new administration in the United States, we are facing more political uncertainties and economic, challenges. So, yeah, we should reconstruct our strategy or the relationships among the countries.
Dr. Makino emphasized that local opinions are crucial to the conversations, as the Caribbean region is underrepresented in global political discussions. For the DBS News World, Miriam Montoute reporting.
Grenada Tourism Authority looking at ways to diversify. Grenada Broadcasting Network has that story.
The Grenada Tourism Authority, the GTA, has started rolling out plans for the new executive. The announcement was made by Stacey Liberd, Chief Executive Officer, during a meeting with local media professionals and other stakeholders. Liberd said while the industry remains strong, there is a need for diversification. The U.S. contributes more than half the number of visitors to our shores, but with the recent threats posed to the islands, such as ours, by Donald Trump's decisions, the CTO said we must find alternative source markets. She gave the assurance that whatever is going on in the U.S. does not impact the continuation of life and business in Grenada.
I think it's very important for us to diversify. What does that mean? I think we all lived through the pandemic, and we recognize that we went through a period of shutdown. And the reason for that is because we're very dependent on tourism. And I don't think that we can afford to be. So we need to be able to diversify how we sustain ourselves as a destination, right? And so it's not only diversifying because we're susceptible to pandemics and weather, so we know hurricane. Anyone following what's going on in the U.S.? And the fact that our visitors, 53% of our visitors come from the U.S. Do you understand the seriousness and the impact of that? 53%. So what does that
that mean? It means then that we have to look at other emerging markets.
The new CEO, who replaced Petra Roach in June, also highlighted other initiatives for the industry, including a brand audit, reviewing their websites and social media platforms, exploring ways to develop them to better serve their customers, and pursuing greater stakeholder and community engagement.
We want to be able to also forge strategic partnerships because we know we can't go it alone, right? And that's going to be one of our focus. We're also going to look at how we boost visibility and attractiveness. We have so much to offer, but if no one knows, we won't be front of mind. We want to also expand and enrich our tourism offerings. So it's airlift naturally because the data shows that today's traveler wants seamless travel. Also, it's developing our yachting, dive, and luxury segment. I mentioned that. And then we have something that we're working on that I am very excited about, and that is our destination magazine.
Director of Sales and Marketing, Tanya Charles, highlighted some of their potential markets.
So some of the markets that we're going to be looking at is continental Europe, Latin America. We're so focused on increasing arrivals from those various regions. Every member of the team or the marketing executives of the marketing department have been assigned a market. So someone is in charge of supporting the US team. But two things in particular that I think is critical here. For the first time, we have a marketing executive who will be responsible for Grenada to encourage domestic tourism.
Christina John, GBN News.
We now bring you these international reports.
Ghislaine Maxwell, the convicted associate of sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, has denied that his highly discussed client list exists. The US Justice Department has released transcripts and audio recordings of its interview with her last month. She is serving a 20-year sentence for helping the late financier abuse young girls. During the interview, Ghislaine Maxwell was asked about President Trump, Bill Clinton and Prince Andrew. She told Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche that she never saw President Trump in any inappropriate setting and he was always cordial to her. She said that allegations about Prince Andrew were not true and that this famous photo was fake, and that former President Bill Clinton was never one of Epstein's so-called clients. Our North America correspondent David Willis has the details.
Convicted of helping Jeffrey Epstein recruit, groom and abuse underage girls, nobody knows more of his dark secrets than Ghislaine Maxwell. Of interest to many, the friendship he forged with Donald Trump in the late 1990s, a friendship she insists that was completely above board.
I don't recall ever seeing him in his house, for instance. I actually never saw the president in any type of massage setting. I never witnessed the president in any inappropriate setting in any way. The president was never inappropriate with anybody. In the times that I was with him, he was a gentleman in all respects.
The US Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, once Donald Trump's personal lawyer, also asked about reports of a so-called client list containing the names of Jeffrey Epstein's wealthy and influential clientele.
There's been a lot of conversations about whether Mr. Epstein maintained like a list of people, like a book of famous people that he knew, it's called a black book or a client list or a list. Did you know of the existence of any such list?
There is no list. We'll start with that.
Her only departure from the US government's summary of the case against Jeffrey Epstein, that instead of taking his own life, he was murdered whilst awaiting trial. As to Epstein's friendship with Prince Andrew, Ghislaine Maxwell dismissed the famous picture of the two of them together as a fake and denied that it was she who had initiated the royal friendship.
I would never have introduced them. It would never have occurred to me to introduce them. I couldn't imagine them being friends. Two chalk and cheeses would never, I mean, for real. There's nothing there to connect them. So he met Prince Andrew, and then he had a relationship. I don't like that word. It sounds clunky. They had a
acquaintanceship.
Thank you.
Many of Donald Trump's diehard supporters have long maintained that so-called deep state elites were protecting key Democratic Party figures such as Bill Clinton from association with Jeffrey Epstein. But Maxwell said she saw no evidence of wrongdoing on the part of the former president. Ghislaine Maxwell was told her interview was not part of a cooperation deal, but shortly after being interviewed, she was moved from a Florida prison to a minimum security facility in Texas. No reason was given for the transfer. She is now appealing her conviction to the U.S. Supreme Court. David Willis, BBC News, Los Angeles.
Well, our North America editor Sarah Smith has more analysis on what's in the 300-page transcript.
It's really, really fascinating. I mean, one can assume that one of the reasons that they have been released is that it's almost entirely good news for Donald Trump, information he'll be very happy to have out there in the public domain. Ghislaine Maxwell said that she, although she did used to see Donald Trump socially, had never seen him receiving a massage from any of the young women around Jeffrey Epstein. She had never seen Donald Trump in any kind of inappropriate situation whatsoever, she said. She was asked about that infamous so-called client list of Jeffrey Epstein's, which has been so much speculation, a lot of it from Donald Trump supporters, about whether he kept this client list and used it to blackmail powerful and influential people. Well, Ghislaine Maxwell said she was unaware of him keeping any kind of list like that. And then she also went on to say that she didn't think Jeffrey Epstein killed himself in prison. His suicide or not has been another source of a huge amount of speculation and conspiracy theories. And the other thing that's very interesting in this transcript is you can actually see the Deputy Attorney General saying to Ghislaine Maxwell that he is not promising her anything in return for this testimony. And yet we know that less than a week after she gave this interview, she was moved into a minimum security federal prison camp, somewhere considerably more pleasant to be than the prison that she had been in before that.
Sarah Smith. Well, Matthew Bartlett is a Republican strategist and Trump appointee to the State Department in the first administration. He told me whether the release of the Ghislaine Maxwell transcript is enough to stop the calls for the release of all the Epstein files.
Listen, for the sake of transparency, this seems to be a step in the right direction to have this testimony made public to the United States of America. Yet, when you look at this, let's first remember that Ghislaine Maxwell's credibility, this is someone who's not just convicted of horrific crimes, but convicted of perjury, lying under oath. So her testimony here is certainly questionable. It's the old, you show me someone's incentives and I will tell you their behavior. Her own incarceration and freedom is certainly potentially on the line as she angles for a commutation, a move, maybe even a presidential pardon. Beyond that, she is all over the place with her explanations, conveniently not recalling critical details, exonerating everyone. Again, this is a monster talking about their victims. It's very hard to believe that this brings us any more answers. Rather, it may bring us many, many more questions.
President Trump was under a lot of pressure over these files. Do you think what she has said will help him? Will he be happy at what she has said?
Arguably, let's remember, it is well established that President Trump was a friend of Jeffrey Epstein. Yet some of the most egregious allegations Donald Trump has never been involved with. They clearly had a falling out, whether it was about a land deal, whether it was about some of the victims that came from Mar-a-Lago, we may never know. But it seems as if the president continues to be reluctant to be fully transparent. Possibly that even exculpatory, even exonerating information could be equally as embarrassing to him. Beyond that, this administration, many of the critics around the Epstein files and the Epstein case are now in power. Their explanations have been far from satisfactory. The White House has created a political nightmare of their own making. It is hard to see, how the American people square this testimony with, again, some of the most legitimate questions that continue to surround this case.
tensions are rising in Guinea ahead of next month's referendum on an amended constitution. Another 3 major political parties have been suspended for 90 days. If the constitution is passed, it would allow transnational leader Mamadi Doumbouya to run for president, even though most of the opposition parties are banned from participating. Doumbouya seized power in a military coup 4 years ago, promising a return to civilian rule. Well, Nicholas Haxon monitoring this from Dakar in Senegal. Critics might say this is a bit to kind of sideline major political players. What's going on, Nick?
Well, yes, I mean, for the opposition, this decision strips away any pretense that the transition was actually working to protect democracy. Remember, when Colonel Doumbouya came to power in a coup in August 2021, he promised not only to bolster democracy, but to give more space to political party and civil society. And what we're seeing now is 3 major political parties, including the one of the former president Alpha Condé, banned, unable to go out and canvass, to post social media. So this is really, it feels for them like a clamping down on their voice, and it comes at a time in a year where there is an election coming up and a referendum coming up on September 21st. And so this decision comes just days when the opposition were going to take to the streets. We're going to go out and call into question the junta's ability to restore democracy. And so this is a real blow to the institution, or at least the political landscape in Guinea. Rob?
If I understand it correctly, Nick, the 3 major political parties recently have been suspended for about 90 days. So what options do they have?
Well, Rob, the streets, that's what's going to happen. We're going to see more people going out on the streets, confronting the security forces. And of course, this legal document, now the junta says it's an administrative decision, not a political one, but it paves the way for the junta to use force, saying that going out on the streets, protesting against the junta would be illegal. Now, you have to understand the context in which this is happening. We're seeing this, the clamping down on political parties happening not just in Guinea, but also other countries in Central and West Africa. In Cameroon, where there is an election coming up, a presidential election coming up, many members of the opposition were not allowed to run as candidates under legal pretense. More recently in Mali, where all political parties have been banned. So it seems for civil society actors that the democratic process in the run-up to the elections are being sabotaged. And that's what's at key and at stake right now for Guinea.
Fighters of the paramilitary rapid support forces are feeling triumphant. They've just killed Sudanese army soldiers in an ambush outside the city of Al Ubaid, capital of the North Kordofan state. On the following day, the same RSF group was ambushed in a revenge attack by SAF. Such is the pattern of a conflict that for over 2 years has been destroying Sudan, with no side being able to defeat the other. The battle for Al Ubaid has been raging since the start of the conflict in 2023. The map of who controls what continues to change. The RSF and its allied factions currently control most of Darfur, parts of northwest and South Kordofan, and a border triangle between Sudan, Libya, and Egypt. And they're besieging the last remaining army strongholds in El Fasher, capital of North Darfur, as well as in Kadugli, capital of the state of South Kordofan, and in the city of Delenj to the north of it. The SAF and its allied factions control the rest of the country. The question on everyone's lips here is why does the Sudanese army seem incapable of breaking through despite its air superiority and its popular support?
The war plan has been drawn by experts in the Sudanese armed forces, and it's being implemented in the best manner. Regular armies do not make random moves. The Sudanese armed forces is working with a long-term policy with the aim of leading the enemy to complete exhaustion.
Sufyan believes the fate of RSF in Darfur will be similar to its fate in Khartoum, which it lost after nearly 2 years of control.
The causes of the delay in reaching El Fashir and Kadugli for the Sudanese army have to do with well-known circumstances. The distances between these cities and Khartoum are very long. The area is flat and exposed. The army needs to ensure its own protection before advancing. That's why it's moving slowly.
Until 10 months ago, RSF was in control of the entire states of Khartoum and Jazeera and huge parts of Sennar, the Wise Nile, and Kordofan, in addition to most of Darfur and the supply line linking it to Khartoum. But that control has now considerably shrunk. The army says this demonstrates why its slow but steady advances are going to eventually win the war. Mohammed Val, Al Jazeera, Khartoum.
You were listening to the Midday News on winnfm 98.9. The headlines?
St. Kitts Nevis artist excited for his inaugural Carifesta showcase.
Second person charged in double homicide of Devon Paris and Jamari Smithen. Julian and Nata convicted and fined $5,000 for offense of possession of cannabis with intent to supply. Caribbean leaders conclude dialogue on resilient prosperity for SIDS. Grenada Tourism Authority looking at ways to diversify. Internationally, Ghislaine Maxwell says Epstein client list does not exist.
Thank you for listening.
That was the WinFM Headline News. The Headline News is brought to you by The Grange and Caribbean.
Now loans, cash at the speed of life, so fast you won't believe it. Now loans, cash at the speed of life, right now, right now. If you need cash in a flash with now, no need to fuss, leave it to us. When you need cash in a flash, no need to fuss, leave it to us. Hear me now. Now loans, cash at the speed of life, so fast you won't believe it. Now loans, cash at the speed of life, right now, right now. Approved in a day, yeah, yeah. Some money on the way, yeah, yeah. Approved in a day, oh, yeah, you know it's coming.
When life throws surprises your way, now's here to help. Whether it's for an urgent bill payment, home improvements, or unexpected health expenses, or even that last-minute holiday trip. With Now, you get cash in a flash, approved in just 24 hours.
Approved in a day, yeah, yeah. Some money on the way, yeah, yeah. Approved in a day, oh, yeah, you know it's coming. Now loans, cash at the speed of life, so fast you won't believe it. Now loans, cash at the speed of life, right now, right now.
A loan product powered by National Bank.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects or sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built, non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts? It's situated at Otley's, 7 miles east of Basseterre in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodations to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020. Fax 466-8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
Swipe your card, live your life. National Bank Life is nice. You can spend it when you want it, how you like, where you like. Swipe your card, live your life. National Bank Life is nice. Home or away. of the day. Credit or debit, right in your pocket. National bank card, so many benefits. All yeah, the choice is yours. Just come and embrace it.
Live your life your way with purchases big or small. Mango, nuts, red fruit and all.
You can spend it when you want it, how you like, where you like. Swipe your card, live your life. National Bank life is nice.
The new 98.9 Win FM.
Let's stop child sexual abuse. The age of